Before we begin today's near-death experience story, I want to send a shout-out and a thank you to Scotty Stacker for his recent super thanks. Now our next NDE was sent in to us by Jackie of Indiana, who writes, "Dear Beyond Death, I simply love your channel and start my day each morning with it. I myself had a near-death experience back in 1984 that I would like to share it with your viewers. I feel that these experiences should be heard, not as a way of altering anyone's personal beliefs, but because from what I have noticed, they all teach a greater lesson that dwarfs religion. They teach that love is what we should all be striving for. Anyway, my near-death experience began in November of 1984 when I was only 23 years old. At that time, and even now, I was living in Indiana. I had recently finished getting my associate's degree in business administration and was due to start a new job the following week, which would have been right after Thanksgiving. I thought the world was mine for the taking. I had a 5-year plan and even a 10-year plan for what would come once that 5 years had ended. I guess you might have called me an overachiever of sorts. On this particular night, I had went to visit my best friend and her husband. We, her and I, decorated her home for the holidays while we drank a few glasses of wine. When I left their home, I was nowhere near drunk, as I had only had a few glasses of wine over an extended period of time. Halfway home, a storm hit. The rain was almost ice as it hit my windshield, and my defroster was not doing the best of jobs at keeping it melted. I guess the same was happening to the roads, because 1 second I was driving, and the next I felt my car fishtail, followed by it leaving the road completely. Needless to say, my car ended up jumping a ditch, hitting a tree, and knocking me unconscious. I don't remember pain at all, at least not yet. Next thing I know, I am outside my car and staring at a large tunnel in front of me that seemed to be just suspended in the air. I don't recall thinking that this was strange. I just remember knowing that I had to go into the tunnel. There was nobody telling me to enter it, and I had no guide along the way. As soon as I entered the tunnel, my spirit just began moving down it faster and faster towards a light at the end. It was at this time that I remember thinking that I must be dead and heading towards heaven. Logically, what else could that light be? After some time, I don't know how long, because time does not exist on the other side the way it does here, I exited the tunnel and found myself in a brightly lit room. When I say brightly lit, that is a huge understatement, as the light is the brightest I had ever seen, brighter than our own sun even. This light, with all of its brightness, was warm and gave me a sense of complete calmness and peace, and seemed to radiate love from it. I had never felt anything even remotely like this love. Around the room there seemed to be hundreds of seats with beings in them that were there to observe me. These beings, as I call them, had no physical characteristics per se, but instead seemed to be comprised of the very same thing the light was, as if they were one with the light, and it with them. Why am I here? I thought, and was surprised that someone answered me back. I say answered, which is not exactly true. Nobody spoke a word in the way that we do on earth, with our mouths, but the answer did come to me. The answer I received was, "You are here so that you may review the life path you are on thus far." None of that made sense to me. Keep in mind that this was still 1984, and NDE were not spoken of as easily as they are today. In fact, they were taboo, so unless you wanted to end up in an insane asylum, you kept things like this to yourself. Channels such as Beyond Death have helped make near-death experiences more acceptable to speak on, and even now there are still many people that speak against NDE because they don't align with their own religious beliefs. As I wondered what this review of my life path was going to consist of, I saw a monitor appear. It settled at eye level in front of me, and on it my life began to play like a movie. Whatever power the light was would stop the movie of my life at certain scenes, and I would be asked questions concerning how I was feeling during the scene. These scenes often involved when I would be engaged in interacting with another person or a group of people. After I would answer, I would either be directed to elaborate further on my feelings. My therapist never asked me as many follow-up questions. This light really took a deep dive on the feelings aspect of human life, or I would somehow feel what the person or persons I was interacting with was feeling at that time. I discovered that I had inadvertently hurt people's feelings several times when I did not intend to. This made me feel shame. The worst part of this life review, though, was one particular scene where I had broken up with a guy I dated in 11th grade because I wanted to date his friend instead. I was shown him running into me with his friend while we were on a date. I never knew, and I had to feel the pain he felt. When the review ended, I thought of myself as a horrible person. If life is some kind of test, I must be failing miserably, I thought. Then the light again gave me an answer. This was not done to punish you, it said. This was done so that when you return to your body, you can fully comprehend how we are all connected and how we must be careful to always strive to be our best and most loving to each other. Are you God? I asked. No, I am not God. It is time for your journey back to earth now. I began to ask if I could see God, but it was too late. I suddenly found myself back inside my body with a paramedic shining a light into my eyes and saying, "Glad to see you're awake." I was already in the ambulance and headed for the hospital. After arriving and undergoing lots of tests that included x-rays, blood, and urine tests, I had to stay overnight for observation, but my overall physical being was mostly uninjured. I tried telling my best friend about my experience after I got home, but she and her husband thought I was going crazy and said as much, so I never told anyone else until I decided to email you tonight. Beyond death, you have my permission to use my experience in whatever manner you wish. I will ask only that you only use my first name, as I don't want any religious zealots looking me up online and causing me any trouble. Thank you again for all that you do. Jackie, last name redacted. I now want to take a moment to thank all of our subscribers and again ask that you remain respectful of other people's beliefs and religions. It is fine to have a difference in opinion. Just be respectful while you disagree. Thank you.